Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I want to make a pretty short video but very important video on 5 underused items in 7.34e. These are 5 of the best items in Dota that honestly a lot of players either just skip because 2 of them are neutral items or just don't buy. You're going to notice a pretty similar price range on 3 of the items that I'll be talking about because people often skip out on the small to medium broken items that really can switch around a game. And I honestly believe, I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that as time progresses, as Dota goes along, core players will start to integrate smaller items like team fight items into their builds. Let's get into it. Let's start with the neutral item at number 5, and I want to talk about why you should be taking this item. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the GameLeap website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. Alright, so coming in at number 5 is actually a tier 4 neutral item. So not an item that comes up every game, but an item I would say that comes up in the majority of games. Let's say about 60% of games. And that is Telescope. Telescope, okay, here's the main thing I want to say. The items you can compare it to, I would argue a lot of them can be replaced. I don't know, sometimes I end up taking a lot of tier 3 neutral items over the tier 4. There are some very strong tier 4 neutral items in the ninja gear. I would say Trickster's Cloak is pretty strong for supports. Aesthetic's Cap is really nice. Spell Prism is obviously good. Okay, it's decent, right? Spell Prism is decent. I think people heavily overvalue 12% CDR. I think they see it as this godsend for supports and spellcasters, and I just don't think it is. And then of course you have Timeless Relic, which, 20% debuff duration on the right hero is absolutely fantastic, and there's no way around that. Those are the main support items, right? But even as a core, if you're a spellcasting offlaner, you should be looking at Telescope. This item is straight up unbelievable on what it does. First of all, the lowering of scan cooldown by 50% is incredibly powerful. Keep in mind nowadays you have 2 scans as well, and so even if you forget about using scan for a period of time, you're gonna be charging it up. 50% cooldown! Imagine an item gave 50% CDR to a spell, it would be hyper broken. Now I'm not trying to claim this is as good as giving 50% CDR to Black Hole or something like that, but it's certainly strong. Scans are very powerful in Dota, guys. They tell you if the enemy team is roshing, if they're smoking. It's something you should be learning to use throughout the game, especially if you happen to be a support player or you're just a core player who likes thinking a lot about the game. And so yeah, this part is insane, but really the main thing that's truly OP in my opinion is the bonus attack range and cast range. 125 bonus cast range. Okay, this is the big thing. To all allies. It's not just your ranged allies, it's all allies. So everyone on your team, including your Sven, who wants to initiate with Blink Dagger and cast Stun, will have a much easier time doing so without you saying a word, because even if he misblinks or blinks slightly out of range, right, or is trying to get on top of someone a bit far away, the Telescope will come into play and enable that. That's just what it does. It has a 1200 radius. That's the range. It's basically always going to touch everyone on your team in a team fight, right? And then of course the bonus attack range, if your team has a bunch of ranged heroes, you have a Muerta, you have Medusa. In my opinion, someone on your team should take this item. Someone should have it, right? Just replace your Psychic Headband, which gives less cast range. Yeah, it doesn't give you the end, and pick up a Telescope. I think that not having one of these is comparable to not having an Arcanist armor at tier 5. I think every team should have one Arcanist armor if possible. For the same reason, giving something to all of your allies is insane. It's the same reason why AC, even though it only gives 5 armor, which technically isn't very expensive at all, is good. It's because it gives it to everyone and applies it to all the enemies. All right, coming in at number 4, we're going to get into one more neutral item, then we'll get into real items, and that is Seeds of Serenity at tier 1. This one to me is obscene how more people don't take it, right? It is not taken enough. I honestly think Seeds of Serenity has to be nerfed. I think this item is way too good. I think it's way too good on way too many heroes. Okay, if you're playing Centaur War Runner and you want to spam your W, you should take Seeds of Serenity. If you're playing Bristleback and you're trying to take Ancients, you should take Seeds of Serenity, right? If you're low HP and you want to siege the tower, you should take Seeds of Serenity. Why? It gives you 150 health. It gives you so much health. Fairy's Trinket or Shovel, on the other hand, pretty similar items, right, in terms of what you might take them for, which is a bit of health, give half. They give half the health. The only other item that maybe comes close is Pigpole, which gives 5 all stats, but you don't get 4 HP regen, which is a lot of HP regen, And then the active is incredible. You place it on the ground and it gives 10 HP regen. 10! Lotus Orb gives 6.5 HP regen. What is this item? It's insane. Mech gives 2.5 AoE HP regen. Pipe gives 6 HP regen. Seize the Sonority, when you click it down in a massive radius, it's 400 radius, gives 10. And then so when you have the item and you place this down, you have 14. The healing is obscene. When you're going to push a tower, this can legit save people. I don't know. This item to me is obscene. It lets you stay active on the map. The only thing you need to make sure is that you have mana items, but like, personally, if I get the option to take seeds, I will often just start buying mana items because of how tanky this item makes me, right? I will take it because it will help me just barely stay alive in a lot of these close engagements, turn things around. So I'm so passionate about this, I can't even explain. Next up, we have Drums of Endurance. I honestly think this is one of those items that cores should be buying if their supports can't get it early enough, because if you have a Drums 12 minutes into the game, and you click this spell and your whole team gets 13% movement speed, you just close the gap way faster. 13% movement speed is a crazy high number, right? Once again, just for a little bit of comparison, when you click Phase Boots, on ranged heroes, it gives you 10%. On melee heroes, it gives you 20. And Drums gives it to 5 heroes, and also gives 45 attack speed, and gives 20 movement speed flat as well to allies, right? So not only does it give 13%, it gives 20 flat, and then 13% more of that 20, which is not a lot. It's like, you know, 1 or whatever, 1, 2, 1 point something. It's not a lot, but you get the point, right? It gives so much. It's 1,600 gold. This item is so cheap. It gives 7 strength and 7 int, which is really nice in the early game, right? These tend to be the stats that most heroes can like buy or just generally want. You know, they're typically useful to have 7 strength and 7 int. I had a game, I just played a Battle Cup game, and I bought it kind of as a meme on Wraith King, and yeah, my team was owning the match, but because we were having a good game, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick up a casual Drums. I did exactly what I'm mentioning here, so this is something I've tested multiple times. I bought the casual Drum because I was having a good game, and I knew I just wanted to run around with my team, get active, and make plays. And so I bought the Drums, and then yeah, we just gap closed on everyone. No one could get away. Heroes that typically would be able to kind of kite out and prevent us from closing the gap, nope, not a shot. 1,600 gold, you're dead. You might be like, oh, but it breaks into my build. It's like, does it really? Like, it helped me take a tier 2 with the skeletons. It helped me get a bunch of kills. It made me tanky. It gave me 7 int, so I could stun a bit more without running out of mana for my ulti. It's like, if it fits the game pace, then I just don't think items like this break into your build at all. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you're playing any of these, like, high-tempo offlaners, I would especially say, I think some mids could buy it, like, for instance, something like Primal Beast mid. I think after his Blade Mail could consider it. Yes, it delays the heart, obviously, but it just gives you so much tempo, so much damage on a hero like Primal, and gives your team the ability to fight way better, way earlier, because you're a core buying it. All right, next up is Veil of Discord. I'm going to spend a bit less time on this item because I really want to focus on the best item, but I think Veil is just an obscene item. I've been saying this for a long time. It gives 1.75 mana regen to allies, which is pretty decent. 5 all stats, certainly not bad. Right, the buildup of this item is incredible. Bassi is a very strong item. Crown is fine. And then it's a 650 gold recipe, which is kind of the only downside, but whatever, it's fine. It's not that bad. But 18% increased damage from spells. 18%. And by the way, it also deals 200 damage to all barriers. This includes Glimmercape Barrier and Pipe Barrier. If you see that the enemy is rushing a Glimmer on a support, you should heavily, and I actually believe this is something people will consider doing as time progresses, you should consider buying Veil, so that when you go on people and they instantly click Glimmer to live, you Veil them. This Veil will end up doing like an extra 400 to 500 damage on the enemy after amping your allies' damage, your damage, and then doing that 200 damage to barrier. And if the enemy has a pipe, I unironically think you can buy a Veil after you see pipe, because it will help negate the pipe magic resist, because if they're buying pipe, it's probably because your team has a bunch of magic damage, and then they're going to have the 450 barrier, which you can negate. I honestly think your team could consider buying 2 pipes if the enemy team is truly grouping. 2 Veils, just to click this barrier damage. It's a bit of a meme, but this item is so cheap. Yes, it obviously takes a slot, but in these scenarios of countering the Glimmer, countering the pipe, or just amping your team's magic damage in general, it's 18%, guys. You know how much armor it takes to get 18% resist in the mid game? Think about that. A cloak is 800 gold, takes a full slot, gives 20%, right? You just negate it completely. And that's a small item taking a slot. Something like pipe gives 20%, Veil gives 25%, right? And you just negate it. All right, and finally getting to the most broken item of the patch. This item just got buffed, so I'm excited to talk about it for that reason, but it only got buffed by 2 seconds, but it's still 2-second cooldown on Pavis, an early game item you want to spam, got a cooldown buff. This is huge, right? Because The point of Pavis is to click it early into a fight so that you block 300 physical damage. It has an 8-second duration on a 16-second cooldown, so a 50% uptime. The item gives 3 armor and 2.5 mana regen, as well as 175 health. I mean, these are just insane stats. Also, what I love about the item is how incredibly good the build-up actually is. Okay? It builds from Ring of Protection. Sure, you know, if you're buying an item that blocks physical damage because you see the enemy team has some physical damage, to be fair, you can buy this item even if they don't have that much physical, because in the early game, you're gonna block a good amount of physical. And you might be saying, well, why not buy Glimmer Cape? If you're buying an item to block a certain amount of damage, why not buy Glimmer? Right? Glimmer has a lower cooldown at 14 seconds, right? It's a way lower cooldown. It turns you invis so you can use it to close the gap. Why not buy this? It makes way more sense to buy Glimmer. Let me tell you why. Glimmer has a 600 cast range. The cast range of Glimmer is way worse than Pavis. So getting this ability off without putting yourself out of position or getting it off in the nick of time is much harder. 600 cast range to a 1000 cast range of Pavis. It's not double, but it certainly is close. And you're still blocking 300. It lasts for 8 seconds Pavis instead of the 5 seconds. Okay, it costs less mana, and the stats it give you, I would argue, are better in the early game. The build up to Pavis is way better. Glimmer Cape is a Shadow Amulet, which is not that good. A Cloak, which is mid. Okay, it's decent, but it's mid. And then a Recipe, which is a Recipe. And it's 2100 gold. Pavis is 1400. So in terms of items that will have this early impact and win these early fights, it is not even remotely close. Pavis is far better than Glimmer for these early fights as long as the enemy team has a bit of physical damage, which most will. It's just going to negate that extra bit of physical damage, keep you alive, and it gives you 175 health and 3 armor. Your ability to frontline with this item as some sort of support, like especially the melee supports, is incredible. And then it gives 2.5 mana regen, which is a bump from the 1.75 that the Void Stone gives you when you build the item. It just gives you an extra 0.75 mana regen, which is not that easy to come by. You'd be surprised. I just believe that this item's been good. People kind of forgot about it. And then Glimmer Cape has been nerfed as of late, which I think is somewhat of its competition. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Pavis. It's an item I literally like buying on Witch Doctor offlane because of how good of a value HP item this item is. There are very few items, if none, that give a similar amount of effective health in the early game to Pavis. It essentially gives you like 500 to 600 health with the armor and the health and then the block. But alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.